Hi everybody, Nick McDonald speaking. I just want to do a bit of an update and have a look at the major Forex crosses and where I see some of the potential action this week. When I look at these, when I look at the majors and when I do my scan across daily, weekly and monthly charts, I'm looking for a couple of different things. So I'm not always looking for a trading opportunity as such, but I'm looking, and first of all I look at each chart and say, is it bullish or is it bearish, or is it really not telling me anything, i.e. it's neutral. And if I see it's bullish, so say for example I see the daily chart being bullish, then I look at the weekly and see is that bullish or bearish, and then I look at the monthly asking the same question. If I have a confluence across the three, then I'll be slanting towards the bullish side for my intraday trades for the week, and it will give me more value. I'll add more value to say a long trade in the direction of those higher time frames, even when it's on a lower time frame chart. The other thing that I'm looking for is a potential trade setup, and there's a very big difference between being bullish on something and actually taking the trade. And I think that's a difference between an amateur trader and a professional trader. An amateur thinks, oh wow, I'm bullish, I'm going to have to buy it, whereas a professional waits for the opportune moment to buy. So right now I'm going to show you where I potentially see the markets being bullish or bearish and why, but not necessarily where I'm placing trades yet. So, having a look at the euro being obviously a key one right now. If we look at euro dollar here on a daily chart, this has been, using very, very simple terms, this has been downtrending and making lower highs and lower lows for quite some time. It's now put in a higher low and broken up to a higher high. So quite simply, at this point here was a higher low than the previous low, and then as we broke up through this high, we broke up to higher highs. So that has now changed trend. You might want to call that a head and shoulders if you want to, if you like applying names to things. It ultimately doesn't matter what you call it, the trend has changed on the daily, so looking a little bit bullish. If we look at the weekly chart as well, in fact, I want to go to the monthly first in this one, because if we go to the monthly, see these two lines I've highlighted, and this is kind of areas of support and resistance in the past, going all the way back to 1999 here, where these zones have been points where there's been lots of support at this level and lots of resistance and support at this level, and lots of rejection of prices around that level. See what's happened is price came down, smashed through that first line, but then has bounced quite strongly off that bottom line. Now we'd be looking to say, we're a long way from the averages, we're bouncing off the 200 period moving average, we're in the middle of that zone, but if we can now break up this week through that area, it's looking fairly bullish for a run up on the monthly chart. So then we come to the weekly chart and think, right, does this look bullish? And the answer is not really, except for the fact that this candle last week was a big bullish candle, fully engulfing the previous week, really bullish, rejecting any lower prices. If you go back to earlier that week where we had the small red candle the week before, when we broke down through the low of that, it would have been looking bearish, very bearish. But we came all the way back up, rejected that completely to look very, very bullish. So especially if we can break up through last week's high this week, the euro will be looking specifically very, very strong, particularly bullish on the outlook for the coming weeks. So I like the euro there, and then just going and looking at some others as well. Look at euro GBP, just looking at other euro crosses. Euro GBP also looking fairly bullish. This weekly chart having come down to 8200 being a key level as well. Not nowhere near as strong as where we were looking at in euro dollar there, but still 8200 key level came right down, broke right below, bounced up through, really rejected that level last week, and if we break up through that week's high, i.e. last week's high, Euro GBP will also be looking particularly bullish. And even Euro Yen, just looking at the Euro versus all its major partners, Euro Yen particularly on the daily chart is looking bullish with really bullish divergence. Has not changed trend yet, but really strong bullish divergence. Now while we're on the topic of the Euro Yen, that looking quite strong and the Euro looking strong, let's see how this matches up with another major, i.e. dollar yen. So we looked at the Euro versus the Yen, now let's look at the Yen's other major partner being the dollar yen. And looking at the weekly chart here, this is a major level. So the 8800 level on the weekly chart, if we can just zoom all the way out here and just see just how strong this level is, it's a really major support level. And we've been down and rejected it many times quite quickly, and it looks like that same thing might be happening again now. So 8800 looking very, very strong. The daily chart being a long way from the averages, and the monthly chart showing actually potentially putting in higher lows, having made a slightly higher high. So this is all looking fairly bullish there on dollar yen, as well as euro dollar, and as well as euro yen. So those are just some of the major pairs where I see some action. The other ones, things to look at of interest would be the Aussie dollar and the Kiwi dollar. Now, see how the Aussie, it's pulled back into this sweet spot zone of 50 to 62%, and now it's kind of make or break time. We need to see where this is going. Is it going to continue in the daily chart uptrend, or is it going to continue the weekly chart downtrend? We need to see what happens there, but it's that time where we're kind of sitting in a neutral zone, but looking to see, will this be a longer term uptrend, a resumption, or at the start of a new weekly downtrend? Having a look at the Kiwi, lastly, very, very similar. We've moved up, we've made higher highs and higher lows on the daily, we've pulled right back into 50% and old resistance, looking like we could be continuing up in that daily chart uptrend, but equally the prospect for this weekly downtrend to be resuming. We need to see which way this goes, and over the next week it'll be very, very interesting to see where that goes and if we get some movement on the Kiwi and the Aussie. So there's a little bit of an update for the week. Speak to you again next week.